I'm funding a ridiculously expensive music project on minimum wage and no trust fund. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 simple things I'm doing to make it work. Hey there guys, I'm Andy Jeffs. I'm a drummer and a songwriter. And right now I'm launching a very cool and very challenging music project. It's called The Deadline Sessions. And it's a show where I challenge new artists to write and record and perform a new song from scratch in just 3 hours. It's very cool, very awesome. I did a few episodes, about 10 or 12 when I was living in Austin, Texas. And now I live in Bristol in the UK, back in the motherland, if you will, to launch the thing again. So it's really exciting. But at the same time, it is also very expensive. At the moment, it's about £600 every single episode. And over, to really make it grow, really at some point, I'm going to want to be doing at least an episode every 2 weeks. So if you times 6 by 24, it roughly comes to about £14,000 over the course of a year. So if you're a musician or a creative that is trying to grow one of your creative projects right now, and pretty much there's no avoiding it when you're trying to do something like that, it's going to cost a little bit of money to get that going. And maybe you're in a similar situation where you're not making a lot of money and you're trying to figure out how to make this work. Hopefully this video will be of insight to you on how you can really manifest your dreams and make them come to fruition there. Also, you're probably wondering, why the heck should I listen to this guy, especially when he's making minimum wage? Like, what the heck does he know about money or anything like that? And I'll be honest, I'm still working on my flaws. I still got a lot of, learning and growing to do. But throughout my 20s, I was very lucky to stumble into the marketing world. I know, the evil devil of the marketing world, but it was actually really fun. I was living in America and I had become a freelance copywriter. And what that is it's basically someone that writes the words that you hear and see in advertising. It was a great gig. I was working 20 hours a week, mostly in my underwear, and I was making really great money. I don't have to flaunt any numbers out there, but I was making a really healthy living. And one thing, that I got the pleasure of was being around a lot of other wealthy people, a lot of business owners that were running 7, 8, 9-figure businesses. And we would go to these events and they would do talks. And you would just really start to get a perspective on how they really thought about growing their projects, these big multi-million-dollar businesses. And that's great. Obviously I don't really necessarily have these ambitions to grow like a big multi-million-dollar company or anything like that. I'm just trying to, create some cool music in the world. But if you can take these concepts that these people that, are dealing with that kind of stuff and apply it to something like your, little indie music project, then it really gives you a head start of like pushing things forward there. So one thing that, happens when you're in these groups is you start to come across a lot of different books that help you come up with ideas. And one idea that I really loved from a book by a guy named Alex Hormozy was called $100 Million Offers. And it was basically about how to put together products and services and package them in a way where you could really, sell them at scale and they would be like really irresistible for people to, say yes to. And one idea that I really loved in the book was the idea of coming up with multiple solutions to one problem. One thing that he had in the book was he would say, okay, here's a brick. Now I want you to come up with as many possible solutions, like things that this brick could do, like as many functions for this brick. And it was a really great exercise to kind of use your creativity to come up with multiple solutions to one problem. The same thing applies to, your music project. So I'll talk about my personal experience with this project that I'm doing, the Deadline Sessions. And really, I've come up with about 20 different ways that I can, fund this and keep it going and keep it sustainable. But I'll give you the 5 most important ones that I'm putting into place right now. So number 1 is a bit of a boring one, but I'm definitely going to urge you to take some action on this. And it really starts with the core foundation of who you are as a person when it comes to how you deal with money. And I would just recommend that you go out there and you buy a personal finance book. I know it's not sexy at all. You're probably cringing in your seat right now, but trust me, there are some good ones out there, and there are some ones that are actually really entertaining and fun to read. One I recommend, which is more geared towards the American market, but is very easily translated over to England, is called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And it really is just a personal finance book that really just teaches you the fundamentals of how to manage your money. And I feel like if you don't have the fundamentals and the foundation of how you manage your day-to-day expenses and ingoings and outgoings in a mature kind of level-headed way, then it doesn't really matter like what other financial kind of tricks and of the trade that you bring in. You're always going to be in this kind of like feast and famine cycle of making the same mistakes over and over again. Trust me, I read this book like 5 years ago, and made a lot of money in that space and made a lot of stupid mistakes in that space. So definitely recommend picking up a financial book. You don't have to read that one. All of them pretty much say the exact same thing. But the three things that I like from that book is, one, he talks about a conscious spending plan, which is like just basically being really frugal and like minimizing your spending on things that you don't care about, and then like spending freely and openly on the things that you really love to spend on. Like if you really just love having a coffee at Starbucks every morning, then you should do that because it truly makes you happy and it's something that you value. But if it's not something that you value and it's something that just kind of keeps cropping in here and there, then ruthlessly cut it out. So that was one great thing. The other thing I would say about it that was really good is it talks about how to increase your income. A lot of the financial advice out there these days is all about like cutting your spending and, hey, don't buy this and don't do that. But he actually talks about, how to increase your income as well. And really, there's only a few ways to do that. You can either ask for a raise or you can take up a side gig. So just increasing your income by even a couple of £100 every month really just gives you that extra fuel on the fire. For me personally, I have, like I say, a minimum wage job where I'm doing, kind of delivery work for a tire company. And, I'm still able to save money, but to give myself a bit more fuel on the fire, I'm taking up drum lessons on the side. And even if I just get 3 to 5 students per week, I can really make a solid amount of savings per month to give this project the best possible scenario that it possibly can. So that's what I'm doing. I may even take up a second job if the drum lessons aren't as quick as I need them to be, but I'll cross that bridge when I need to. The other thing he talks about is kind of automating your financial plan. Human psychology really works against you when it comes to, being mature and kind of sensible with your finances. So automating everything just cuts out the human psychology thing where we kind of cheat ourselves, and just make sure that you essentially save and budget on automation. So definitely recommend a personal finance book. All right, that's the boring stuff out of the way. I'll kind of talk about some more upgraded ways. So one thing I would say, the next thing that I'm doing is focusing on quality over quantity. One thing I was really hung up with when it came to growing my show was I thought that it was really necessary to be doing an episode at least every 2 weeks. I mean, in our social media environment, everyone is always, panicking like, oh, you got to be posting every single day, posting 5 videos a day, and you got to just like quantity. There is some truth to that for sure. But at the same time, if you are trying to grow a project that is, quite ambitious and, something that is not easily come by, which I think is more valuable in today's landscape, is to create something that is a bit more scarce. You want to kind of let go of the idea that you need to be doing like a lot of quantity over and over again and like just kind of stretching yourself too thin. I mean, for me, if I was to do 2 episodes of the Deadline sessions every month, then that would be about £1,200. Used to make that money when I was doing the marketing on minimum wage. That is definitely being unrealistic. And that's something I'm personally working on with myself. So when I just cut it down to 1 episode per week, I was like, okay, that's more manageable. If I just do X, Y, and Z, I can sustainably do 1 episode every month for 12 months. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Over the next 12 months, I'm just going to consistently post 1 episode every single month. And on those filming days, I will fill in content like the video that you're watching right now into the spaces in between. So it really just, one is about being realistic and not stretching yourself too thin, and focusing on quality over quantity, which I think is absolutely undeniably the best strategy in today's landscape, especially with all the slop that is on the internet today. So that's your second tip there. Third there is to expand your skill set. Now, for most of my music career, in parentheses there, failure of a career. No, just for most of my career, I have been focused and diligent on just being a drummer. I was like, okay, I just want to be the guy that is really good at one thing, playing drums, being able to come into any music situation and just play really solid, really fast, and really reliably. Now, that's great. I think that has gotten me to where I am today. But in order for me to get from where I am here, it's not going to get me to where I want to go. So when it comes to something like the deadline sessions, I've been taking on more skills to offload the costs of each episode. For the first few episodes, what I'm doing is I'm taking on video editing, which, isn't the hardest skill to learn in the world. It's definitely a little bit of a learning curve here and there. And it is better, of course, if you can hire a video editor. But for me, I'm like, okay, I can learn how to do this and get it good enough so that I can lower the costs in the short term for this production. So I'm taking on video editing. Another thing I'm doing with the show is I'm getting the sound engineer here at Hum Studios to kind of teach me how to take on some of the responsibilities so that later on down the line, if I do need to, kind of take on things and responsibilities myself, I can have that option. Now, obviously, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin, and you do want to be realistic with how much time you have, and you don't want to become a jack of all trades, which is basically just another name for being average at lots of things. You still do want to specialize in the thing that you are the best at, but I think it's also good to expand your horizon and just like be someone who has a bit more of a ecosystem of skills that really make you a very unique and valuable asset in any kind of production. So that's what I'm doing with my show over the short term period, is taking on more skills so that I can lower the costs in the short term. The last one here, well, actually, there's two more. One is to utilize live events as much as you possibly can. We all know that, especially in the music industry, most of the money is made in the live events. So if you are doing a music project, maybe it is, predominantly something that you're doing on social media, try to think about ways that you can bring live event features and elements into your project, because that way, obviously, you can charge for tickets, and you can also sell merch at your events as well. So for me personally, with my show, it's a show where we obviously create songs and record them in 3 hours. Later on down the line, roughly around about this, between the 6th and 12th episode, I'm going to be testing it as a live event, which, could go completely terribly and wrong, or it could be something that is very unique and special that I end up doing every single month. So think about it. If I can fund one episode out of my own pocket every month, and then I do a live event every single month that is at least breaking even, then I'm able to get up to the 2 episodes per month that I'm really striving for. So live events, definitely try to bring in the live event feature as much as you can. And then last but not least, is sponsors. And this, of course, is something that I left to last because it is the hardest thing to do. It is also the most, unrealistic thing to do as well, is to get, companies to give you money for your music project. But obviously it is doable. And I think from the very get-go of me releasing the episodes of the show, I am going to start making relationships with sponsors through LinkedIn, through email, and just kind of updating them on what I'm doing, so that when it comes to a year from now, I've already shown myself and proven myself that, hey, I am posting content consistently. I'm posting quality content. It's getting views and likes and shares and subscribes. And I really understand my audience on a deep level, so that when you come to work with me, when you come to work with me, you will be tapping into a very dedicated audience of loyal fans that will want to buy your products, which is great. So that's it for now, guys. Those are the 5 things I am doing to fund a ridiculously expensive music project on minimum wage and no trust fund and very limited savings. Hopefully this was valuable for you. Please let me know in the comments. I think at this point in my journey, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. That will help me move things forward a lot quicker. And check out the first episode of the Deadline Sessions, July 7th, here on YouTube. Catch you guys later. Cheers.